What's going on, guys, in the works? And we are playing a little bit of Caspian Border Rush today, and I really do enjoy Caspian Border. I like the wide open feel of this map. It feels like a battlefield map. It feels right. There's a nice blend of buildings, wide open fields. It plays all sorts of different styles of game, and it'll kind of play into what we're going to talk about today, which is choosing the right weapon for the situation. And we're going to talk a little bit about the G53. But for whatever reason, every time I play Caspian Border, no matter how many hours I put into this game, every time I get the first set of MCOMs and I'm running up the hill over there, I always think, it feels like there should be a second set of MCOMs here. See, always feels like Caspian Borders needs to have 4 sets of MCOMs instead of 3, because there's only these first ones, then you go all the way back to the gas station, then you have the last set of MCOMs. In my mind, I feel like there should be a set up on the hill, or there should be a set like over there in the rocks to your left. I don't know. That's always just something. It's always bothered me about this map. It seems like it should be a 4 MCOM map. But some exciting news, I am about to finish up a new PC build, and I'm going to try to record portions of me building it and put it up. I wanted to gauge your guys' interest in that, because I was thinking about making a PC building guide for those who are wanting to build a moderate, mid-range PC for Battlefield 4, and I've actually got my old PC, which I was going to break down and reconfigure and put back together to kind of show you guys some of the tips and tricks I know for saving money on different components and stuff like that. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know in the comments of this video, because I am looking for some feedback on that, whether or not I should actually even waste my time doing it. But some exciting times, because I'm about to be completing that build, and we'll have a whole new PC with a 7970, brand new shiny i7 3770K. So it will be a lot of fun for our Battlefield type content, because it's going to look nice and pretty. Not to say that my 670 doesn't do a good job, but it's always nice to get a nice new build going. But let's talk about what we're here to talk about, the meat of this video, which is the G53 and choosing the right weapon. And the reason why I picked the G53 was just because I hadn't used this weapon in a while, and I was trying to think, why don't I like this weapon? Because it is pretty decent, it's pretty average, it's basically a different variation on the G36C in this game. Now, not in real life, I'm not saying that it's based off that. Hold your horses, gun nuts. I'm just talking about in-game. They have pretty similar stats. They both shoot 750 rounds per minute. They both have pretty comparable recoil. Now, the big difference, though, is the first shot multiplier on the G36 is much lower than the G53. The G53 has like a 2.3 or 2.5 first shot recoil multiplier, which is a lot higher than the G36, because the G36 has the standard one. But the engineer class is one of the more polarizing classes in my eyes, because if you look at the weapons, they're very situational. I mean, you've got like the MTAR 21, that's an up close weapon. You've got the ACR, which excels at mid range, but it's not really that good up close, because it does lower damage up close. Oftentimes you get outshot by even PDWs up close with the ACWR. So a lot of the engineered weapons are hit or miss. I mean, some maps you can use them on, some maps you can't use them on. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, the G53 is a weapon that it has a pretty good rate of fire. 750 is, it's not low. I wouldn't say that it's low in any stretch of the imagination. However, it doesn't compete with, like, let's say the M4A1, because it shoots 800 rounds per minute. So logically, if you're going to have to choose between the M4A1 and the G53 on a map like, let's say, a close quarters map, you'll probably go with the M4 just because it has a faster fire rate. And that tends to be the case with a lot of weapons in Battlefield 3. A lot of people say, well, we're in close, let's go with the faster fire rate. We're on a bigger map, let's go with a lower fire rate, easily controllable weapon. And I think that there's some problems with that type of mentality, and hear me out on this. The G53, logically, when you're using it, you would say, okay, well, it doesn't really perform well on a map like Caspian Border, because it does have a lot of recoil. It's probably a weapon that's better suited for middle range engagements, mid to short range, when you're engaging people in those types of scenarios. So let's say a map like Grand Bazaar. There are some long lines of sight on Grand Bazaar, but there's a lot of middle, medium range long lines of sight, and that was a pretty wishful thinking RPG right there. But you never know, you might hit them sometime. But you can clearly see that I'm doing just fine with the G53, which I think kind of throws that logic out the window. I think it's all in the player. If you know how to control the recoil of the weapon, oftentimes you can be just as successful with a weapon that's better suited for a middle range role at long range, just because you know how the weapon works. And you can clearly see that I'm doing fine. Like, I'm not really struggling that bad with this thing, considering that I haven't been playing a ton of Battlefield 3 lately, and my shot is a little bit off. So yeah, don't make fun of me. I am still a little bit rusty. But I do think a weapon like the G53 is one of those few weapons out there that you can say proves that it doesn't really matter what map you're playing on. You can be successful with anything. Now, will the MTAR 21 be at a little bit of a disadvantage to the G53 if it was going head to head at, let's say, like 100 yards? Yeah, probably, because the MTAR does have a lot of recoil. But I think the MTAR is usable on a map like this. I think it's all in the player. It's all in the mentality. It's putting yourself in the right engagements. And a lot of people send me messages asking, you know, what's the best weapon for insert blank map? And my answer to that usually is, it depends on the player. It depends on your playstyle. Because if you're rushing into these buildings, you're going to be successful with a close range weapon like the MTAR. It's not really going to matter. Yeah, you're going to get outgunned when you wander off into the fields, but that's just the nature of Battlefield 3, and that's what makes Battlefield 3 gunplay so awesome. So the next time you're in a situation where you're trying to decide which weapon is going to work best on the next map in the queue, just remind yourself it really just depends on what situation you're going to find yourself in. Because I've been successful with shotguns. Yes, shotguns on Operation Firestorm, a map that you would consider to not even be made for shotguns. So, like I said, all in the player. It's all in the mentality. G53 though is a pretty good weapon. It's a lot of fun to use if you want to just mix up your game. It's kind of like a different version of the G36, slightly worse on my scale than the SG553, just because the SG has such controllable recoil. I just love using the SG553, and you guys probably already knew that. But if you missed my past videos, here's a chance to catch up. And like I said, let me know what you guys think about the PC build idea, if you think that would be fun to watch. No promises though. It depends on if I have the equipment and the angles and stuff to make a cool video. But if it's something you'd like to see, leave a comment, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.